Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier. Here's Shoot 'em Up, a preview of the new High Octane game mode from CitCon 2019. It's unedited in case you missed it live. Please stay tuned as I do plan to break down the show in the near future. I hope you enjoy.
Hello? 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 Oh, I'm online. All right, very good. So, yeah, something to get out of the way real quick. I've been taking pictures with a lot of people today, and it's awesome. Had a lot of fun, but do me a solid. I've got to you guys take a picture with me this time, okay? All right, everybody say fun. Fun. Okay, cool. Thank you. I look forward to reviewing all the very, very kind gestures, I'm sure, that were in that picture. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to CitCon 2949. I know it's been going all day already, but I hope you guys had a lot of fun so far. And definitely stick around, of course, for the keynote at the end. So super excited to be with you guys today and have some exciting and interesting stuff to talk about. So over the years, I've been involved in a lot of things at CIG, and usually when you've seen me here at CitizensCon, I've come to talk about, new technology, some tools, maybe pipelines, methods to make all this kind of stuff. But today it's going to be a little bit different. So today I want to talk about a new game mode for Star Marine that we're calling Theaters of War. So up on stage with me, and at the end, is a lead FPS designer, Richard Tyre. And he's been instrumental in helping me build this game mode for Star Marine. And he's going to stick around to answer some questions during the Q&A at the end. Well, there's the laser pointer. So let's go over the agenda a little bit. So first, what we're going to talk about is sort of the electronic access and lore and what that really is all about. How AC and SM fit into it, how Theaters of War will fit into it. Then we're going to talk about what Theaters of War actually is. So we're going to explain what Theaters is and kind of what the whole intent of the mode is and pretty much why we made it. Next, we're actually going to talk about the map that we're playing here at CitizenCon today. So it's a scenario, it's basically a map, but it's called Crossroads of Crime, and I'll explain why it's called that. Then we'll go into the lore a little bit. Great lore team within the Star Citizen community. It's incredible the amount of lore that we have to actually pull from. Then we'll go into the actual game mode itself, Theaters of War. We'll do an overview, really just walk through each of the sort of phases, and this will make a lot of sense in a little bit. We'll talk about some of the new mechanics we brought online to make this a lot more fun. We'll talk about the vehicles, the character loadouts, and basically how you play the game. Then finally, we'll get into some future plans, when you guys are going to get your hands on it, and some of the features that we're still really wanting to work on before we roll out that game mode. Okay, so in Star Citizen, we have the concept of electronic access. And electronic access is like this simulator for all these different events that can go on within the universe. Basically, it's like an entertainment for the denizens of Star Citizen, for citizens. And it's really an important distinction because Arena Commander, Star Marine kind of exist under this umbrella. And because it's a simulation, we can kind of get away with some stuff that is a little more, quote-unquote gamey than it is in the persistent universe. In the persistent universe, things are a little more permanent, obviously with persistence. So Star Marine and Arena Commander were the first two to exist under this umbrella. And they made a lot of sense in their own regards. Arena Commander came out, test our flight. That is our core gameplay. So let's get the flight happening. Then we had the FPS, which was Star Marine. And now what we have is Theaters of War that kind of groups the two together. So I also contend that these simulations are a really good spot for us to be able to tell some lore in a really meaningful way and an interactive way so that you guys get to experience that lore in a way that's super memorable. So you can imagine it's kind of like a reenactment, like the Gettysburg battles or anything like that, that basically these guys go in, simulate, and play through. So now let's talk about the scenario or the theater that we built for CitizenCon.
Watch each other's back and come home in one piece. right, new plan. I think they're controlling it from that radar tower. I need all agents to focus on that. All teams. Redirecting you to take out that mining laser. Use ships or take it on foot. Whatever it takes. It's gotta go.
All right, so that gives you a quick preview of what's going on back in the war room here. So Theaters of War, this is a new objective-based game mode, and it's within Star Marine where the key focus is combined arms. We're putting everything together, and this mode really combines all the work we put into Star Marine, Arena Commander, Squadron, PU into one cohesive battle on foot, in vehicles, in the air, all working together to accomplish some common objective or to stop some common objective from being taken. And the idea is that this happens in some sort of historical Star Citizen setting, a story from our lore. So ultimately, Star Citizen hasn't just always been an FPS or just an arena shooter on its own. It's really more accurately described as the ultimate in sandbox gameplay. You've got all kinds of vehicles, all kinds of weapons, so let's put them together and let's have some fun. So really, why did we build this, right? Well, at some point in the PU, we are going to get to that level of combat going on. Now, you know, the combat in the PU happens a little more sparsely, and it has to do a little bit with the player counts, but the minute that we put all this stuff together, this better be fun. We can't make it fun after the fact. It's got to be fun before. So it really gives us a really, really solid analytical environment to really hone the gameplay, balance things against each other. So again, how many shots does it take of a railgun to take down an Ursa? How many Ursa shots does it take down to take a Valkyrie? All of these things, they do happen in the PU, but a little more sparsely. And it can take some time. So having said that, when combat occurs, it's really got to be fun. So to reiterate the key points, you know, Theaters of War is another game mode like Elimination or Last Stand in Star Marine. So, and again, combined arms, everything's in play. So what do we want to achieve with this? Well, we want to be able to balance all this. We also want to give you a solid 30-minute experience where you can come in, have some fun, and get out. In the times when we're all so busy, you can't always play for 3 hours. You can't always play for 4 hours. We need actually a real quick, arcadey kind of combat, but not different than Star Citizen. It's got to be the same. And that's a really key point here. We didn't develop really anything drastically new for this. This is using the exact same assets from the PU, same balance, same everything. And if anything, we've taken a lot of the stuff that we've found within theaters that we found on fun, and we apply it to the PU from there. So it gives us a really good spot to be able to do all that. So how does Theaters of War fit in right now? Well, that was actually, how does Crossroads of Crime fit into Okay, so what's Crossroads of Crime? That's actually the name of the map. That's the name of the scenario. So I want to kind of a little bit of a brief of that scenario. Now, I'm not nearly as good at telling these stories, but I'm going to give you a little bit of what they fed me. So we went through our lore and we went, where's some sort of combat happening within the history of Star Citizen, the last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years before the present day PU. And we found this great story. And the story takes place in the Nexus system. So in the Nexus system, there's a notorious outlaw gang, and there's a lot of outlaw gangs within the Nexus system, but this particular one is specifically aggressive. So the Supreme is the name of the outlaw gang in this particular one, and they're facing off against an elite advocacy squad that has come to retake one of the planets. So to give you some backstory on the Nexus system was totally unclaimed. The Hathor group, which was a mining group, came in, but all they really cared about was mining. So as long as profits were being made, they totally looked the other way. And what that sort of evolved into was a really perfect sort of petri dish for a ton of crime. And in the end, Hathor group strip mined the entire area, pulled out, and just left it as it was. And that obviously devolved into something pretty criminal. So with that, pretty much anybody that's doing anything bad in the universe is going to have some time crossing through the Nexus system. And that's where the Crossroads of Crime came from. Advocacy, or UEE specifically, said, can't just leave this alone. Being more or less the interstellar police force went in to retake the system. Rather than give it up, the Supreme would rather see the whole thing destroyed. Things about the Supreme is that though they're super aggressive, they kind of take all comers, and they're not super well educated. So what you'll notice is that as the Supreme took over the base from the Hathor group, they actually use like pictograms and signs because not all their guys can read. It's kind of an interesting backstory to these guys, but though they can't read, they also use these pictograms to actually threaten the enemy, which is super interesting. So let's give you a bit of Theaters of War. So again, we're applying a lot of the player feedback that we've heard from Star Marine, from PU, all the different sort of arena commander matches that we've seen, and I'll get into some of the details of those later, but it really, again, has forced us to kind of look at things. One of the great ones that has come from Theaters of War that you guys are going to see in 3.8, it sounds simple, but it was really obvious that the animations need to be sped up. I mean, when we were mantling over things, the guy is just not much of a sense of urgency. There was kind of, climbing over things. He was just taking his time. Reloads, much faster. Getting into ships. When you're under fire, getting into a ship can't take 15 seconds. You're going to die on your way into the ship. The other stuff was, all our FPS weapons, they were really balanced with, kind of the I don't want to call them legacy. They're still around, but our Starmer are really, really tight interiors. So you really have like 20, 50 meters. Attachments didn't really matter. What's really the difference between a shotgun and an assault rifle at, 20 or 50 meters? Putting the environment so that you in a compound that started to be 100 meters is much, much better. Thank you. Okay, so again, the idea, we give a 30-minute that was chock full of combat right in your straight away. Let's give an overview of this game mode into 3 distinct phases. It's basically, in this particular scenario, you have combat environments that are going to happen. In total, the game mode's meant to be 30 minutes, and right now we've got 20 on 20. In this one, we've got Phase 1 AA turrets. Now, it's a ground-based battle. You've got some ground vehicles that are actually supporting the attacking team in this scenario, but the first things first, they've got to take down the AA turrets to bring in the ship. In Phase 2, you've got a radar tower. After you've taken Phase 1, the Supreme actually activate a mining laser because they're not going to give up this planet. If they're going to lose, they're going to try to destroy the entire planet. So you got to destroy that radar tower, which is controlling the mining laser. And then finally, I'll talk about some of the vehicles in this one. We've got a lot, it's a huge area. So we've the 200, 300 meter combat with some interior combat, kilometer traversal, where the defenders have a lot more ships and the attackers have a lot more ground vehicles, so we get vehicles. And things like, say, the ballista, which is, you know, not playing the PU right now because, I mean, if you get into one, you could probably have a seat on a planet and just, you know, wait. But in this mode, the ballista is the king. That will keep those ships away real quick. And then finally, we transition and low, definitely low atmosphere, to upper atmosphere and in space. So you get to transition between some atmosphere flight and some space flight where the objective is to destroy the mining laser. One of the things I want to mention before I get too deep into that is that it's all seamless, right? Like, I mean, we've got this technology to be able to do this, so why not use it to our massive advantage and not put any loading screens in between or anything? That combat is completely seamless as you go through this entire thing. So from ground to space. And this can go even further. The templates that we've built for this, you could make a map an entire, so you could be going to a planet in the distance. You can do it between a planet and a moon. You can do it between two moons. You could even do it between two solar systems. It's a crazy amount of technology that we have access to here, and all it needs is a little bit of a structure. So when you load into the game, this is what you're seeing. This is our new spawning interface for this particular.
Introducing Nerf Ultra One. It's all about the distance.
Just watch me now.
Blasts up to 120 feet. The One has arrived. New Nerf Ultra One. Batteries not included.
And they're meant to have a little gold on them, is the advocacy. So you guys will see that once it releases. And then the red are the Supreme. So again, there's 4 different presets to choose from, and each of them kind of aim to provide this variety of combat and really roles, just fulfilling certain roles within the mode. One of the more interesting things is the teams have asymmetrical loadouts, meaning there's not the same weapons, so assault on one team is not the same as assault on the other team. This makes a lot of sense within the lore because, again, advocacy is coming from the UEE. They're going to have their weapons manufactured by Bearing. They're going to use more ballistic-type weapons, whereas the Supreme are going to have a little crazier type weapons. They're going to have, you know, some KSAR weapons. They're going to have energy level weapons. The other thing to mention is that, you know, between the foot soldier and assault, you might say, what's really the difference between a foot soldier and assault? In this mode, there is a very real difference between somebody that's got a shotgun and close range weapons. They're going to be able to take out the interiors of these buildings really, really quickly. Whereas a foot soldier is much more all-rounder. He's like a rifleman within the infantry. Then you got snipers, which is pretty self-explanatory, I hope. And then we've got an anti-vehicle. And again, a little bit of asymmetry between the two teams. On the advocacy side, these use the Animus rocket launcher. And then on the Supreme, these ones use the railgun. So what vehicles do we got? We're all excited about the vehicles. So they range from fighting vehicles to transport vehicles. So we've got, these are all the vehicles that are actually in the mode right now, and we've tried a ton of them, right? We actually even started with the Valkyrie, and we will get the Valkyrie back in, but for right now, it wasn't making a lot of sense. It's actually super duper powerful. It's got a lot of health on it, and again, this is why we're balancing this stuff. So you got the Cyclone, you've got the Ursa Rover, and just to note, and I'll talk about it a little bit, the Ursa Rover acts as a mobile spawn point within our Crossroads of Crime or Theaters of War. Then finally, like I talked about, the ballista. The ballista just completely surprised all of us, right? Because it became so important. It is the strongest anti-air ground vehicle that we have, and it really gives it a reason to exist in this particular mode. Again, it's a great vehicle, and in the PU it will be very, very meaningful, but right now, it's not. So we've got some great ships as well. The Buccaneer, this one is really cleaning up right now in that. And just to mention, we are getting statistics of what's happening in the war room right now. And just to give you an idea, the thing with the most kills right now are the Buccaneers and the Ursas. So then we have some arrows, the Hornet, and then finally we even have a dropship. So we replaced the Valkyrie with the Vanguard Hoplite. So all of these you'd use to take the fight to the enemy. So what goes on in phase 1? So you saw a little bit of that on the video, but phase 1 is disable the AA turrets. So in this phase, the advocacy come to take over the laptops, and you'll recognize the laptops from Star Marine. We didn't just make anything new. We didn't have to. You take over the laptops to take over the AA guns from the base. Excuse me. And as soon as that's achieved, the AA guns are shut down, and you can now bring ships in for what is phase 2. I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay, and I keep kind of mentioning sort of the compound-like gameplay. So in this compound, you've got some interiors, but a lot of the combat happens in the exteriors. Once you've got one of the control points, you're going to end up having to transition over a whole yard that's got a lot of destroyed ships and things like this to go over it. So there's great sniping spots. There's a lot of defensive spots for the defenders because the attackers in this particular mode have 2 Ursa rovers and 1 Cyclone. So they can actually motor right in, and the defenders have to keep an eye on basically those Ursas because they can be used to spawn a lot of infantry. And on the Supreme side, so for the defenders, they don't have any vehicles on this one, so this can be really fun. Once we transition from that, once the AA guns are taken out, the Supreme are pushed back to their control tower. So they don't want them to take the base, they activate the mining laser at that moment. So the objective for phase 2 is to destroy the ground-based radar. There's 2 ways to achieve this, and this is one of the new mechanics that we've had. First, you can just shoot it. That's easy. You use missiles, you can lock onto it, you use your guns, you can ram into it. I mean, whatever you can do. You can do some damage to that tower. But there's a way for infantry to help as well. It's on top of a compound, and within that compound is a laptop that's actually hooked up to the control tower. And in that control, if you take over that laptop, you can overcharge it, which basically does like a 20-25% damage to the given objective. So infantry can help, but it's hard to get in that outpost. So the Supreme at this moment are given ships, and this is a great, great traversal that happens. As you can see sort of on the image there. Here, let's try this. Whoa. Laser pointers. We've got a huge traversal where this is the end of phase 1. Drive here, right to the outpost. It's about 3 kilometers. So the defenders, they have, I think, 8 Buccaneers. It could be, we change the numbers all the time according to balance, but it's between 8 and 10 Buccaneers. And again, as a defending force, that's pretty powerful, but the attacking force has 2 ballistas, 3 Hornets, 4 rovers, and 2 Cyclones. So there's a lot of vehicle combat happening now. And don't forget, you can spawn in these Ursa rovers as they transition this phase. And then additionally, because of the ballistas, the ships really have to pay attention. So finally, in phase 3, you're actually going to the upper atmosphere, and we literally go straight up from the control tower. So the objective for phase 3 is to destroy the mining laser head. And basically, it's the same way as achieving, well, mechanically anyways, the objective within phase 2. You basically have to destroy this mining laser head. And again, shoot it, shoot missiles at it, crash into it. But we've also got the laptops. Now, we changed it up a little bit because we put 3 of these all throughout the station. So this lets the advocacy move around a little bit because there's going to be a cooldown on these given laptops. So as soon as you get to that laptop, you can overcharge it, do some damage to the station, and move on to the next laptop if you can. So it keeps the defenders moving around a lot. So once destroyed, the attackers have won the round. Or, if they haven't, they've lost the round. The defenders, all they have to do is stop them from destroying this illegally appropriated stronghold. Or not. Okay, so I can hear the live streams now. I can hear them. They're going, go, you got to finish the game, though. You got to finish that game and that game. So I want to explain that we really didn't have to put much into this. Now, in terms of work, it was over about 6 to 8 months, but we really only added a couple new mechanics and put some light structure around this. So some of the new mechanics we added, lock spawn points. So I didn't mention it on the phase breakdown, but in each phase we have this little locked spawn point. And all this is it's a spawn point for the infantry because it's a little bit further up, but all you have to do is walk into the volume and you take it. So if the defenders are really smart, they're going to try to defend that even more than the objective, because as soon as that's lost, it's the beginning and the end in that phase usually. So these also coexist with what I talked about before, mobile spawn points. So that's the Ursa. You can take the Ursa up, you can go hide it, you can try to drive it right into the outpost. You know, it's really up to you how you want to play that, but even on the spawn screen, you will see that that Ursa is in a good location, and you're going to want to spawn there. So all the players really need to do is find the right spawn point and take care of their objective. So, back in that war room anyways, it's just out the back, we've been playing for the last, I think about 6 hours here. We've had a bunch of sessions come through, and the feedback has been great. There's been having a lot of fun within it. People are understanding the game right away. There's a lot of readability that's already been built into this so that people understand what to do and where to go. So we took a quick video of sort of the reactions of some of the guys in there. And I believe that the video will trigger when I do it. I hope. Hey, nice one. All right, so it just shows you all the PCs. So we got 40 PCs set up within there. And everybody's coming in. We play for about 40 minutes. We change the sides. We play for 20 minutes. Then we switch sides. And then we play for another 20 minutes. Now, what's been really fun about this is people are talking mad to each other, right? They're yelling at the enemy. We've got them on comms so they can talk to each other. And it's actually been really, really fun. The energy is fantastic. You can see that people are really enjoying being able to get that sort of 30-minute adrenaline-packed, high-octane kind of experience right in your face. There was a great moment where somebody was yelling out, Demo 55, you got to get better. And the guy was like, well, raise your landing gear and learn to lock on. You know, you can really tell the good pilots from the bad pilots, by the way. So if you want to look really good, make sure you raise your landing gear. We thought about making it automatic, but I'm like, no, I like to be able to tell if somebody's really good in the ships or not, because as they're flying around, they'll either lift it up, and if it's not, I'm like, I'm going to get him. He's easy, you know. So it's been a lot of fun, and the feedback's great. And the whole reason we made this thing at this time was I wanted to bring it to CitizenCon. I wanted to bring it to CitizenCon because I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I want to find out from you what's fun. I wanted that feedback. And the feedback's been fantastic. Everybody's got something to say about it, and it's usually very positive. But there was one grumpy guy on the way out one time. He was like, well, I still die lots, and he walked out. So, I mean, can't please everybody. All right. So we've sort of gone over all this, but now I want to tell you when it's going to be in your hands, because this is, a lot of talk. Now, you can play it right now at CitizenCon, and it's in a good state right now. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, one of the things that I tried really, really hard to do here was to take fun first. And CIG, I mean, as you guys know, we love our visuals. We can make beautiful things. And you've seen Planetech V4. You've seen some of the technology that we've got. We can make stuff beautiful, but not first. Let's make it fun first, and then make it beautiful, right? Because that's fun. But we don't want to make it beautiful, keep changing it, make it beautiful again, make it beautiful again. Let's just use some boxes. Thanks. So, just to give you an idea, I mean, I was talking to one of our the senior lead environment artists, and he was like, "Man, I didn't know if you were going to get it here. I saw that map 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I don't know. So it's not, the culture definitely at CIG is our visuals, but we have to be sure that we're fun too. And that map was really just white boxes. That was most of the time it was the same wall piece copied thousands of times all over the map, just to get the placement of everything right. And we would switch it, we would move spawn points. So we iterated massively on it with tons of play testing. And again, you could do this when you're in a sort of 30-minute, 40-minute kind of mode where you could iterate on it in that way. And then once we got closer to CitCon, we're like, okay, now make it really beautiful. Let's go, right? And we've had maybe about a month and a half, 2 months of real solid art time on it now. And I need a little bit more. Just to make that to the level that you guys have come to expect of us, but we got to keep the performance up because, again, the gameplay has to come first with this particular mode. So enough of that. Anyways, having the mode playable for CitCon, I wanted to get a bunch of feedback from you guys. And pending the CitCon feedback, there was a lot of different things that people came up with. There were some great ideas, actually, that I think we should be implementing. It's going to be in an upcoming release. I said it different. They updated it. So it's going to be early next year, I want to go to Avocati. And early next year, I want to get it out. There's no reason to hold this back, right? We want to play this really, really quick. So I want to get you guys into it early next year. So what else are we going to do? Well, we got work on the netcode. Obviously, everybody's going to go, oh, well, we got this 250 millisecond delay or whatever it is. Luckily, part of my pillar, part of my job anyways, as I've got the technical content side and we've got the combat pillar side, along with Rich, we run the combat pillar, which has the network engineers that, sorry, not just the network engineer, gameplay kind of network engineer that will work on this. So he works on the upstream refactor, the downstream refactor, and the netcode rework for hit registration on the server. So this will make everything much, much better. In terms of the mode itself, though, because it's so tight in terms, like against the PU, it's actually not, we haven't really had any major problems with it. And because it's vehicle-oriented, in a lot of cases, we haven't really seen much issues. So the other thing we're going to do is some lobby system updates. Lobby system updates really mean matchmaking. That's the big thing for me. Me and the Turbulent guys have talked about it, as well as Tony Zurovec, and we've always talking about a contact system, the fact that we've got like 3 different friends databases that are all over the place, and then there's one on the front end, and you gotta handshake them, and it's all really crazy. So there's no reason that it shouldn't be just one seamless kind of friends or group experience from Spectrum all the way down to the game. Why it's separate makes no sense at all. Not for you guys, not for us. We don't like it either. So we wanna fix that. So what that's going to do, it's going to make it much easier to play with your friends and join up and get in the game right away. Because again, I thought to myself, okay, my son is 4 years old and he's starting to play some of these Switch games. He's playing a lot of these Lego games with me. And I really want to play Star Citizen with him, and I can sit and play Star Citizen with him. But I wanted to put him in front of it and just leave him alone. And at 4, probably not. But maybe 6, I don't know. It should be pretty soon. So it's really important to me. Also, squads. That's something else I want to bring into this. Is a really important component of it. Like, though we're going to have VoIP within it, and I'll talk about that in a second, I do want people to be able to play together in a really, really meaningful way. So form up in a squad, hell, on Spectrum, and just end up in the game within that same squad. Bring people in and out, whatever it is. So the next thing is kind of some VoIP stuff. I'm pretty sure you guys noticed, but in Arena Commander and Star Marine, and now Theaters of War, there's no chat. There's no chat. You can't talk shit to the. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't talk badly to the enemy team, right? You can't say anything to them. Actually, you can kind of use the emotes and everything, which is fine. But we need some basic chat. Oh my goodness. So we're gonna get that integrated. We've been working on that. But it's also going to bring the group and VoIP support. And what's really cool about it is something that always frustrates me in any kind of combined arms game or any game that has a cooperative kind of vehicle is I'll get in the gunner seat and I can't tell the driver how bad he's driving, right? So with the PU, you guys have had this experience already. There's the concept of the ship channels. And we have the exact same concept for Theaters of War. When you jump in an Ursa, you're going to be able to talk to that driver because you're within that channel with him. So you can say, driver, whatever, right? Or you're doing a great job, I'm sure. The other thing, we'll have global proximity. So basically, you should be able to hear them talking to each other at distance, because this isn't the only scenario we'll make. There'll be scenarios that make a lot more sense so that the global proximity stuff will make a meaningful difference. We'll have the team groups and the vehicle groups, as I mentioned. So I want to make a couple updates to this. One of the things you might have noticed, even in the video, in the pull-out especially, now that you guys have seen Planet V4 tech, you look at the V3 stuff and you're like, ooh. So I looked at it and I went, ooh. So I want to get Planet V4 onto this before it gets out to you guys. I think that's a really good thing to do. It allows us to vary the terrain a lot more. And if anything, that's really my only complaint artistically, is that the terrain is really, really quite flat anyways. So we're going to do that. We want to update some of the vehicles on there, just pending the analytics sort of reviews. And the other thing I want to get in there is basically we have a briefing video that's running. I want to get that all in-game. And then in the end, I'd like a real climactic ending to that station coming down. I think we'll do something pretty exciting if you win that round, or if you defend it. So I'd like to have something pretty exciting happening at the end. So we'll make some art updates, but this is kind of the fun, polished stuff that I like to keep to the end. We do this because we know it's fun already. On top of trying new vehicles and potentially even shifting locations around just based on the feedback. Whoa, that's too big in my notes. All right, so lots of people helped. Now, this was really easy and fun thing to actually work on. It's a lot easier for the developer to be able to spin up a thing in that's a 30-minute round. We've got 40 people playing that you can play test every day in a really, really meaningful way, but it's very analytical, like we're doing the same round over and over. So we know exactly what's happening, but we're having the right conversations now, and that's what really excites me about this, is, hey man, the railgun can actually shoot through the glass of the Rover into a passenger seat in the back. I'm like, whoa, you can? Okay, we should probably fix that. Somebody told me a great story about they couldn't get an angle on the Ursa driver. So they had, the driver had left the door open, and he ran in the back, and he couldn't get an angle on him with his rifle, and he just, grenade, got him, cool. Go in. So these are the good conversations to be having. These are actual gameplay conversations. There's things like, hey, the Animus is really, really too strong. Somebody can sit right beside an ammo crate and just sit there and defend the entire point themselves. These are the right conversations to be having, rather than it just working. So, some big special thanks have to go out to Richard Tyre, who you'll see in a second here, Milan Paycheck, who I wouldn't have been able to do any of this PowerPoint stuff, and he's incredible, Tom, Forrest, Johnny, Jens, Clive, I'm sorry the stream is so far behind, okay? Rob Johnson, Thorsten, Stephen, Michael, Nick Piers, Lee Wood, the actor feature team, lead programmers around here somewhere, Jens Lind. So the character art and tech team, they got really involved, which was great because the characters look fantastic. We made them nice and bright so people could see them on the map, which is really important. The QA team, obviously, so we've been doing these 40-person play tests every Wednesday for a while now, for the last 6 months at least. And then all the other developers involved, and I don't know where the camera is, but you guys know who you are. And thank you, guys. Okay. So now we'll proceed to the Q&A with whatever time we got left. We got Richard Tyre over there. I think I'm just going to march over there. All right, very good. So thank you guys so much. And to the guys that didn't get to play it, I'm really sorry that we only had 280 slots today. One of I just want to explain the reason why we did this. I've done a lot of E3s and Gamescoms and stuff like this, and when they do this big lineup, you never know if you're going to have enough time to play. There's other things that you want to be doing. We had talks throughout the day, so I thought it was much better that we had a bit of a schedule, or that you signed up for slots rather than kind of trying to get as many people through as absolutely possible. So I'm sorry you might not have got to play it. We'll try to reveal as much as we can, but I'm going to get into your guys' hands as soon as I can. So thank you very much.